Hey, I just got off an awesome coaching call with teachers, and I wanted to share some of the insight that I got from it and to talk about what this teacher shared with me about their process of guiding students to presentation day. So, we just finished presentation day last week, and when I went to view this class, this is a high school class, their projects, I was particularly impressed with their knowledge, with their ability to not just recite information that they learned in their research, but to really deeply engage with their particular topic. And we talked together, the teacher and I, about how he helps shape that throughout the course of the unit. So if you don't know, at ISLA, we have an 8-step project process. And in the early days of a unit, which we're now in week 1 of the new unit, all of our students are in this explore stage. And in the explore stage, it means that they don't necessarily have an idea for their project. They don't know what they want to deeply learn about. They're just learning, they're engaging. And in this stage, a student could be there for a while. Maybe they don't feel inspiration with the theme just yet, or maybe there's just such a broad topic that they're still trying to figure out exactly what they want. So he lets them sit there. He does hook activities. He shares videos, articles, has class conversations, over and over and over again, trying to inspire what might be something that a kid wants to dive in deeply on. As they start doing that, they then move to the second stage, which is to identify. And that is where the student begins to say, that is what I want to learn deeply about within this particular theme. So in the previous unit, for this high school class, they had been studying philosophy, and you noticed in that one, it makes a lot of sense that a student might go directly into a particular school of philosophy or a unique philosopher and really go deeply into understanding how that impacts their life or however they want to go. They present an idea to the teacher, and the teacher engages individually with every single one, kind of knowing who they are, knowing what's realistic, knowing if they're actually inspired by that, and if they feel that they are, kind of pushing them to go a little bit deeper. The teacher also helps them set SMART goals. If you're not familiar with a SMART goal is something that is S stands for specific, M is measurable, A is agreed upon, R is realistic, and T is time-based. So instead of just saying, I'm going to learn a whole lot about this philosopher, that wouldn't be a SMART goal, but instead to create real measurable goals that have a deadline, that allow everybody to kind of set their sights on something that we can achieve in these days. And the teacher, and all the time that he spends with these students, gets to know them not just as like learners, but as people. And that's where he can help them create goals that are realistic for them as learners, that are realistic to achieve. Because believe it or not, some of our students sometimes set goals that are giant, that, would take months to achieve. And we have to kind of work with them to make sure that it's something that they can get done with all of their other expectations in life. So as the student now starts to articulate their purpose, their drive, what they want to do, the teacher then says, I don't actually have them choose the style of presentation or what we call the mode of presentation just yet, because my goal is on knowledge of that content. So the student starts planning, starts sharing research, starts taking notes, sits down with the teacher on a frequent basis to talk about what they're learning, what they're guiding. And the teacher is then kind of pushing them to say, hey, this resource that you have is not effective, or you need to go deeper into this particular area. Again, taking a lot of time to really bounce around the room and know each individual student, what is possible for them, and really to like connect it to their life and their interest, right? So as they're starting to formulate their knowledge over the weeks and weeks and weeks, then sometimes emerges an idea for a presentation style. And they then start to have to gather some of the time, the evidence, the materials that they'll need to get that done. Those are stages 3 and 4 in the project process, often called plan and prepare. And again, they're preparing their research, they're planning, but they're also at certain point, if they're going to make a documentary film, or if they're going to, as one student did recently, create a pop-up cartoon book, which is far more complex than you can imagine. They have to learn some of those skills in their own time, or in their art class, or in any other space that they're at. So they get there, they get there, and as they get towards week 5 or so, it is time to really be almost finished, super knowledgeable about your content, capable of speaking about it, its impact on your life, right? And now, as you're into stages 5 and 6, that is that build, you're finalizing your project, and then you're kind of starting to revise it. The revision comes from the presentation of your idea, of your project, not just to the teacher, but also to your classmates. I spoke I think in a previous video about how we do internal presentation day, but the students present to all of their classmates, as many as possible. They're talking about what they learned, about what they were interested in, about what excited them, and then they're also showing them the final piece of what it looks like. They're getting feedback, and they're given just a few days in that week 6 to finalize, fix, tighten up, improve all of the things that they need to on their final project before we get to stage 7, right? Stage 5 was build, stage 6 is fix and revise, and then stage 7 is present. First, present to other classes in the school in the form of internal presentation day. So a group that's younger than ours, and then a group that's older than ours. But it just gives us an opportunity not just to get used to sharing and communicating what we learned, but also maybe inspire younger learners or learn from older learners about what is possible. And then after we've done all that, of course, at the end, we do reflection, which is where we've presented everything, we've gotten all the feedback, we've heard from everyone. We even did presentation day, and we have this moment to really kind of think about how it all went over the course of those 6 weeks. I think one of the things I take from that meeting with the teacher is the importance of knowing your students, right? And I think in large traditional schools where teachers are asked to teach one subject and just have a filter of students coming through, right? I taught in a school one time where I had 6 periods a day, 25 students per period. To really get to know the kids is largely impossible. There's a few that are, that raise their hand a lot and speak, but in general, you just got to get through your content. Whereas at ISLA, the difference is that we take that teacher and we give them a cohort of students that are with them nonstop. And, one of the real benefits of that is that you truly understand what inspires them, what makes them tick, what affects them negatively, positively. And that gives you this great opportunity to do coaching, personal one-on-one coaching that is so important in terms of guiding a person to achieve their potential. I think most adults recognize the benefits of having a coach, a therapist, a mentor connect with you and not just talk about specifics, but often like where is your motivation lying and the overall umbrella of your performance, setting some accountability measures with you. I think that's what this teacher so profoundly described in their coaching session. And I think it's just such a critical piece of the project-based learning methodology in general, is that the teacher really is engaged in a connection with each student.